Hi there, I'm Claudia Alec, and I have your poem for you. Kat Brooks contacted me a few weeks ago because I think I must have reached out to the Anti Police Terror Project to offer my services in any way to help them produce their Martin Luther King Day celebration, since I produced the one in my community for about a decade. And I thought that they were going to ask me to do something administrative, but they asked me to do something creative. And can I just say I love being able to be in a show and not have to make the show, but also it's a beautiful way to really get to know the community and the event. So I decided to collect a poem, to wander the entire event and talk to everybody. I started first with the people who were helping to organize it, because this thing takes a lot of people to set up and make happen. And they were all busy working, but they were also willing to offer their words. So I appreciated that. So they contributed to the poem. There was an entire area that was just for healing. I had Reiki done, and those folks contributed to the poem. And they had like sound healing, massage, and food. They were feeding the people, so that they contributed to the poem. They had an entire section of the park that was just for the little babies. It was for the youth, and it had an entire section for like 5-year-olds to build their own inclusive cities with blocks and cardboard. They had places where they could make signs. They were singing songs. There was storytelling. The mothers, family. It was fun. Like, that's something that kids would just like to go do, I think. That was amazing. They contributed to the poem. This poem has folks 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 14-year-old, but also the elders contributed to this poem. Because the park was full of the elders. It was full of the people who had been doing this movement work for a long time. And they contributed to the poem. The park was full of religious leaders and like religious practitioners from a lot of different religions, which was just marvelous. I loved this beautiful sort of cross section of all of these different faiths that were told stories about being against each other, but we were all together there in the park. And they contributed to the poem, and you're going to hear some of their voices. There were a lot of social justice organizations tabling and sharing their practice. One area was done, and a lot of these social justice organizations are grassroots people run organizations. So there was a section that was for the homeless where they were literally building a house for homeless people. And they were talking about, how they had been seizing public lands and building houses for homeless people to just move into, and then how those areas had been bulldozed down. So I'm not only learning and connecting to the community, I'm learning the history of this place and the places where injustice is continuing to happen. So it was an amazing march. Lots of amazing artists in the march. So I met the choirs, because there were several different choirs who have these practices of leading song and teaching others to lead songs. You can hook into like the Thrive Choir. There was an entire section. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of them. They were amazing. I was so inspired by this woman's words. Fiddlesticks. It was a group. They were circling and they were drumming. And the thing that she said was, "Oh, I'm not going to." She encouraged us not to say MLK, to say his entire name. And I had already yesterday decided that I was no longer going to shorten it to MLK. I was always just going to say King, because that's 4 letters, not 3, but that's fine. And I go, it's King's legacy. It's not MLK's legacy. It's King's legacy. We know who we are talking about when we say King. This is the poem that people wrote. Generally, they could only see the page they were writing on, and as you can see, there are several pages. So when you hear stuff that hooks up to stuff that was at the beginning, that was not because they were reading what came before. It was because, ultimately, in this movement, we are all on the same page. The poem. Martin Luther King Day poem. Reclaiming his radical legacy. Remember that America is who killed Dr. King. Remember that we are coming to get our check. Let's remember King for who he was, an advocate for peace and love, not war or violence. Let's end white supremacy. Black lives matter. Everyone responds to love. Oscar Grant, Sandra Bland, were killed in cold blood. By your hands we can rise. By our hands we save lives. Our voices shall rise. Our lives and resistance will thrive. We shall overcome today. The children are our future. Teach them better and we will be better. Reimagine the dream and teach our children this is your world. Recreate a better one. The war on the poor is in full effect. The only struggle that anyone deserves is the struggle to attain joy and happiness. My freedom is intimately tied to yours. The knots we make together will never be untied. The world should work together. Love is the only weapon we need. Family. We are all God's children. That's easy to feel. And when we put it in practice, Martin's dream becomes real. Freedom is water and water is life. We should all have equal access and equal rights. Don't forget who came before. Martin Luther King is a good freedom fighter. Hooray for MLK Day! Power to the people! Girls are powerful, and brown girls, and black girls. Rosa Parks is a freedom fighter. Women are powerful freedom fighters. We stand honoring this sacred ground. White silence is violence. Reparations, decolonization, love and light, sharing is radical justice. With grace, joy, love, and a nice smile, we can do it all. And all we need is us. We want justice? We got just us. That's all we ever had and needed. Each other. Let's unite to fight and bring our empathy for love and light, for light and right. Let tears of amber rain upon the cracks of granite and light, the old world on fire. Learning and soaking up the sun with my comrades and community. What could be better? Collective liberation. My freedom is bound up in yours. Together we rise and together we collapse. Let us choose to rise and dedicate our lives to nothing less. There aren't the words to say this. This lives beyond words, beyond language that is spoken with movement. The movement of the whole, not just a part, a collective that includes black women, black trans women, black queer youth, and every identity across the diaspora. Dr. Martin Luther King's most popular speech is Cash the Check, more commonly called I Have a Dream. In this speech at the 1963 March on Washington, where he called for reparations, please reread the first part of the speech, when he said, why we have come to Washington. Open the vaults, he said, Ashe. My wish is the legacy of Dr. King continue to live on in the hearts, souls, and lives of all people. May we find a place where our life force works on the same path towards unity, love, respect, and equality for all. There is no solution except revolution. And if we are to move beyond entombing ourselves, it means evolution. Indigenous spirit is the only solution. Ancestor strength, power is dignity and integrity. Without it, it is heresy. In Yahweh Elohim, we come from nature. We shall return to nature. Jah Rastafari. We come from nature, we shall return to nature. It is up to us to live our nature. Healing starts from within. The truth is in the trees. And I had a dream that was defined, and through it our stars aligned, a chance for it to turn the time and bring a stop to human crimes still in pursuit. Liquid fire of desire melts the magic glow, crystalline, spiritual, rising as the body flows, sun and moon, kundalizing, yin and yang, moonlighting, liquid fire of desire, nurturing my soul. Yeah, I am sick and tired of your political strategies, resized line. Come to me with open eyes, with hope you hardly find, my ever so kindred mind. As we grow, the dream grows. Reciprocity. I'm black before I'm a woman. Expect resistance anywhere hate resides. Expect resistance anywhere hate resides, and we will march. We will stand, we will shout, we will build. This legacy is for you. Inspired by his bravery and the bravery and resistance of all civil rights workers, all people in the movement. We got this. Let's do it. And that is the poem that was written by a lot of beautiful people at the People's March, reclaiming Martin Luther King's radical legacy. 2019, Oakland.